Hello friends, today I am going to explain the second stanza of the poem The Sea Fever, which is written by John Masefield. Previously I have already explained the first stanza of the poem, and today I am going to explain the second stanza of the same poem. Let's begin. I must go down to the seas again for the call of the running tide. Previously in the first stanza we have seen that the first line was the same, that the poet must go to the seas again, and I have already explained earlier that why is the word must used, because the poet feels an obligation or a compulsion inside his heart to go to the sea voyage, and again because the poet had maybe earlier taken a sea voyage before. For the call of the running tide, and why should the poet, or why does the poet feels this obligation? Because he hears the call of the running tide. Running tide refers to sea, right? So a part of the sea is calling him, and the running tide is calling him. So if there's a question that why does the poet feels an obligation, or why does the poet want to go to the sea voyage, based on the second stanza, if there's a question, the student should answer that the poet should go to the sea voyage, or the poet wants to go to the sea voyage because he feels or he hears a call of the running tide. Is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. Now, this call which the poet hears inside his heart of the running tide, actually it's a call of nature. And this call, what kind of call is that? Wild call and a clear call. Wild, it can refer to freedom, because wild animals live in forests without any restrictions, without any limitations. They tend to do as they want, and that is the beauty of wildness, because it's synonymous with freedom, and the poet wants to experience that freedom in the lap of nature. So this is the inner meaning. And what is the literal meaning? The poet just hears a call, which is the call of the running tide. And what kind of call is that? A wild call. And a clear call, a very distinct call, which he can hear inside his heart of nature. The nature calls him to come out and explore the unknown, to explore nature, to know what is there in the lap of nature, right? And this can refer to man's eternal desire to know the unknown. And a clear call that may not be denied. He cannot deny this call. He cannot deny this call. That's why it's sea fever, because he feels a restlessness. Fever, when does a person suffer from fever? When he feels a restlessness inside his body, he runs a temperature. But here the poet is not running a temperature. He just feels a restlessness. Why? Because he can hear the call of nature, and this call he cannot deny. He cannot deny. And the word deny we have already seen in the poem Fable, right? And all I ask is a windy day and the white clouds flying. And all I ask is a windy day. Previously in the first stanza, what did the poet ask for? He asked for a tall ship and a star to steer her by. But here in this second stanza, the poet asks for a windy day. And the connection with wind and the sea voyage, because wind is very important component of nature, which will aid the journey, in the right direction. If the wind is against the journey, he will feel lots of trouble in resuming his journey, in continuing his journey. We have seen this kind of connection between wind and sea in the poem North Ship, which you have all done in class 9, and again in class 8 you have done the wind cab, where there was John, and he was popular. Why? Because he could provide the wind, right? So there's a very important connection between wind and sea, because without wind the voyage cannot be completed. And the white clouds flying. And what kind of day will be this time? It will be the white clouds flying in the sky. White, again, it symbolizes peace. White symbolizes peace, and the poet gets peace in the lap of nature. So here he feels that the white clouds are flying in the sky, or he wants the white clouds to fly in the sky when he will undertake this journey. And again white clouds, that means it will be a peaceful weather, not a stormy one, because if it's a stormy one, then there will be black clouds all over, right? Then and the flung spray and the blown spume and the seagulls crying. Flung spray, fling, when you fling something, it means you are kind of throwing something very violently. And spray, tiny droplets of water. So here the waves, when they are just hitting and they are breaking into different sprays, tiny droplets of water, right? As if they are throwing something and then they are breaking into tiny droplets of water. And then the blown spume. Blown means it is the spume means the foam of the waves. Blown means the air is making it to blow higher up, high tide or a high wave, which is as if it's blowing, the air is blowing it like a balloon. And then that foam, he wants that. And the seagulls crying. Seagulls crying means the seagulls, they are crying. He wants to hear that cry, because seagulls are a part of nature. He wants to experience nature. He wants to enjoy each and every part of nature. So he wants to not only enjoy the sea, he wants to enjoy the clouds, he wants to enjoy the seagulls crying. He wants to hear the cry of the seagulls and the blown spume. So, based on the second stanza, if we try to infer the inner meaning of the poem, we can say that this running tide, the call of the running tide, we can refer to as our own self conscience, call of the conscience, which will enable us to journey or to maintain our journey in the time of challenges of life. This call cannot be denied. This call of our conscience, we cannot deny that. We have to continue our journey. And who will help us to continue our journey? That is our call of the conscience. And this is the inner meaning. But when you are writing the answers in your exams, you should stick to the literal meaning of the poem. So here ends the explanation of the second stanza of the poem, The Sea Fever. Thank you.